Well, I didn't mean to be a producer. That was a completely accidental situation. I mean, as I said, you know, I wanted to build the studio so that I'd have a studio. I didn't care about the idea of, I mean, it seemed an obvious progression. Richard wants a studio, so we'll do that. And once it's running, nobody will want to record there. I'll just have it to myself. You know, that was kind of in the back of my head somewhere along the line. But I hadn't taken into account the fact that Richard won't do things unless he's got a fairly good feeling in his own head about their chances of survival and progress. So, and then what really put the cat among the pigeons was meeting Mike Oldfield. You know, if I hadn't met Mike Oldfield and heard his beautiful music, I would never have wanted to. I mean, I didn't even want to be a producer then. I just happened to be the guy that was running the studio. So I was learning at the same time, you know, how to produce. And the only advantage I had was that I could use the equipment, and I had a good imagination for soundscapes. You know, even then I had this ideal in my head that you should, when you listen to music, you should be able to shut your eyes and it puts you in a place with its own light, shade and perspective and sense of distance and sense of proximity and closeness, so that every piece of music, really, I always construct it with distance in mind, you know. And that was, Tubular Bells was a perfect piece of music for me to work on that principle, you know, because there was an opportunity to use orchestral dynamic range, you know, 60 or 70 dBs of dynamic range, and keep it in a kind of a modern rock sort of connotation. And I continued that with tracks on the Fine Old Tom. I mean, there's a lovely power in something when you've got something up close whispering in your ear and then something very long way away shouting very loudly. There's an enormous energy in that dynamic, you know, and it instantly creates this kind of landscape thing, you know. I mean, it doesn't have to be shouted, but, you know, the idea of a distant electric guitar that is obviously a 4x12 stack cranked flat out, you know, but it's so far away you can only just hear it. That's ever such a powerful thing, you know. It opens up all sorts of worlds of strangeness that you can then, you know, develop and play with, and anything in between is valid, you know. I get bored very quickly with stuff that's all in the same place, all on the same stage. To me, it's got to be musically exemplarily good to make it work if it's all sitting on the same stage. I mean, a few people Debussy can do it, but Debussy uses sounds, he uses landscape as well, even though he's restricted to, you know, a little group of people here. His choice of instrumentation and piano to forte within the orchestration is so beautiful. And I mean the same with all my favourite composers, you know, the Russian giants, Borodin and people like that, and Mussorgsky, magicians. And all that rock and roll does is to try and emulate that power. There's nothing as powerful as a 90-piece orchestra on 4 Fs, you know, whacking something out. It takes a lot of electric guitars to get it sounding as good as that.